Alright, this is chapter 8. In this chapter 8, we're going to talk about ergonomics. In this chapter, I have 72 slides. Now, usually what I try to do for my time frame, I usually think a minute per slide. So if I have 15 slides, I'm thinking about 15 minutes. But usually I talk a little bit faster than that, so I could usually go up to 20, 25, 30 slides and still get it within a 15-minute time frame, especially when I'm making a video. In class, it's a little different because then I can talk a little bit more about the slides or maybe talk with the students in class. So the reason I'm talking about chapter 8 having 72 slides, and if I want 1 minute slide, we're talking about an hour, and you'd have to watch an hour of me talking, which would not be very enjoyable. But a lot of what I'm talking about in here are just pictures. And what I've done to show actually employees working on equipment, I've stuck my picture, my face, over the pictures. One of the reasons I do that is it's just easier to put my picture in there. But I just thought it just covers the basis, so I'm not accidentally put other people's face within my documents, because I got these pictures from a variety of areas. I really don't remember where. Some would be Google, Yahoo, maybe from others presentations. I really don't remember. So when it comes time for the pictures, I just want to prepare you that my face is on the majority of these. And I think we should still pretty much get through this. I think it's going to be a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but I still think we'll be able to do it justice. So ergonomics. Ergo means work. Nomos means laws. So if we had ergonomics, it'd be work laws. The timeline: early 1980s, OSHA began discussing ergonomic interventions. 1983, OSHA Training Institute offers its first course in ergonomics. 1986, OSHA begins a pilot plan to reduce back injuries. So you think that 1986, that wasn't that very long. Now, some of you say, well, I wasn't even born yet. But for my case, I'm just talking about I graduated in 1980, so that's 6 years after I graduated. And I would have thought, well, they would have had already some kind of policies in effect for that, wouldn't they have? October 1986, requests about government asked for requests about information about how to reduce back injuries. 1994, OSHA and Ford had a settlement, and Ford will reduce ergonomic hazards by 96%. 1990, you had the agency publishes ergonomic program management guidelines for meat packaging plants. Remember I was talking about meat packaging? Because that is a very labor-intensive type of work environment. So they definitely want to look at a place that was labor-intensive to try to reduce injuries. Fall 1990, OSHA creates the Office of Ergonomic Supports and hires more specialists. November 1980, OSHA and GM sign an agreement that GM says they'll bring ergonomics to all their GM plants, affecting 300,000 employees. And then throughout the 90s, OSHA signed 13 settlements. 1991, OSHA published Ergonomics, the Study of Work. July 1991, labor organizations petition for emergency temporary standard. 1992, OSHA begins inspection program in meat packing. April 92, Secretary of Labor denies petition. August 1992, OSHA published an advance notice proposed rule making on ergonomics. 1993, OSHA conducts a survey of general industry and construction to obtain information. 1993. Now I think now we're getting into maybe some of the ages where at least some of you students might have been born. You say, hey, that's right about my time. 1995, OSHA begins a series of meetings to draft a standard. 1997, a conference was conducted. April 1997, OSHA Ergonomics webpage is introduced. February 1998, OSHA holds a national meetings about the standard. March 98, OSHA's video ergonomic programs at work. February 1999, OSHA reviews small business ergonomics. April 1999, OSHA starts to address the concern raised in that report. November 1999, OSHA publishes proposed ergonomics program standards. So 1999, OSHA said they published a proposed ergonomic program. Under Clinton, under President Clinton, November 14, 2000, OSHA published an ergonomic program standard. Under Bush, it was repealed in 2001. Current guidelines. So here you got guidelines, certain ones. Meat packaging, beverage, foundries, nursing homes, shipyards, retail grocery stores, prevention of musculoskeletal injuries in poultry. These are the current guidelines. But there is no standard. These are guidelines, but there is no federal standard. So what is ergonomics? It is a science and practice of designing jobs and workplaces to match the capabilities and limitations of the human body. In simple terms, ergonomics means fitting the job to the worker. So here's an example of one of the pictures. I said I included my face, so you can see my face in a lot of pictures in this chapter. So here's how the best work zone and the preferred work zone. So try to have your body not reaching to the maximum reach, but within a comfortable range. So here you got designed for sitting at a desk with a computer. You got your head, your neck, your back, your elbows, your wrists, your knees, the keyboards, your feet. They all got certain standards that they say are best for you to work at. Now imagine this standard. If you had a federal standard saying you have to do this for everyone, that can get very time consuming, very maybe confusing, because different people are different ways. Different people like to work a certain different way. So you can see that maybe some companies might say, "Oh, this might be a nightmare to try to implement." So when you're standing, again, you got your head and neck, your shoulders, arms, your backs, your hands and your wrists, your feet and legs. Now look at this picture as I was talking about. Here this person standing on looks like some type of rubber mat. And at the bottom of that page you can see it says good quality anti-fatigue mats reduce back and leg fatigue. Now they say back and leg, but I'm telling you, from my perspective, being an olden, and you guys who are watching me probably are all youngins, my feet, when I work on concrete all day, they hurt all day. Even when I'm working, when I come home they hurt. I wake up in the morning, and then for the first half hour they're okay. All right, they're sore. I work them out, and then I go back to work, and then they start hurting again. So it really does help with the feet as well. So here's heavy lifting. It's one example of heavy lifting, and then here's another one. The cart. If you use a cart for heavy lifting, that's going to definitely reduce your risk of injury. So they have other benefits. They improve quality of work, ergonomics, they improve quality of life, and they reduce fatigue and discomfort. You have what is called the WMSD, which is work-related musculoskeletal disorders. So you have something that's how can I say this word? Yeah, I really can't. So the CTDs, cumulative, which means it's a bunch of it together. Repetitive, which obviously means you do the same thing over, and overuse injury, like if you're using one finger all the time. These are known as soft tissue injuries, and they occur gradually over a period of time. At first you kind of work it out, but eventually you repeat it so much that you cause the damage. Alright, so what are these WMSDs? They affect your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, your joints, your blood vessels, and your nerves. So you got tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, carpenter's knees, low back pain, pitcher shoulders, rotator cuff. And even at my age, I thought, I was fairly active as a youngin'. I think a lot of us are who are in sports. And so, I've never had a broken bone or any of that stuff, even though I was active in sports. But now at my age, when I lift stuff, my shoulders like pops, and I'm like, why is it popping? I haven't done nothing to make it bad. So when you get this repetitive motion, and then maybe your age catch up with you, then it has a synergistic effect. So what causes heavy, frequent, awkward lifting, pushing, pulling, carrying loads, working in awkward postures, hand-intensive work? So the risk of injury depends on duration of exposure, how long, the frequency of exposure, how often, and the intensity of exposure, how much. You combine that all together, and that tells you how severe your injuries will be for how long, long lasting. You got assembly task, sorting task, loading on and off materials, inventorying products, stocking your product, software programming, telemarketing, customer services. All these are frequencies, right? Customer service. So what are you going to be doing customer service? Well, the old way you'd have a phone, right, in between your neck. So you're probably going to have a neck injury after a while. So now you got this headset to make you look cool, like you're working at McDonald's. Yeah, may I take your order, please? So even and just think of jobs that you might do, that you do on a repetitive basis. Like right now, I'm holding my keyboard here, so I changed the PowerPoint slide. I'm getting like this little sore muscle in my wrist, just push down the button, because my hand is being in a set fixed position for a amount of time, and my muscles are saying, hey, I can't take this. So you got heavy lifting. Here's a picture of heavy lifting. Manhole cover. Frequent lifting. Lifting more than twice per minute. Awkward lifting. Bending real far down. Picking up stuff that you're not sure how you can hold it because it's wide, it's thin, and it's just not built to lift. So what do you want to do? You want to use carts when you're lifting, hand trucks, hoist, slide objects instead of lifting them. Store heavy items where you won't have to bend and reach them. Use ladders to get items down from high shelves. Don't reach up there, but get the ladders, slide them, and bring them down, and have help. So here's an example of the box. You slide it to the cart. Mini pallet. Awkward positions. Standing, seated. Bending, kneeling, squatting. Reducing low work. Raise or tilt the work for better access. Use a stool for ground level. Use tools with longer handles. Alternate between bending, kneeling, sitting, squatting. So now at my age, when I bend, I feel them in my knees at a very short amount of time. So here's what you do. Instead of bending down on the box like that, put the box up on a little stand so that you can load in the materials in the box. Raising the work. Instead of working on the materials on the ground, you raise it on a little stand, which is a whole lot easier on your knees, on your back. How about when you're reading a meter? Okay, get a little some kind of handled. Open up the meter, look down there and read it instead of reaching down. Awkward postures, high work. So use an elevated platform or use tools with longer handles. Limit overhead storage and bring the work down for easier access. Alright, so instead of reaching up on the left, on the right you see me with a longer piece of equipment that I can actually cut, and I don't have to reach my arms so high up. Same thing with the ladder. Instead of getting a ladder and putting those lights up there, I get a light lift. And trust me, putting those lights up there is a work. It's very awkward using a ladder, but I've had to do it, and I've seen many other people try to do it. Even just changing light bulbs. Reaching. When you're reducing reaching, keep items within close range. That makes sense, right? Removes the obstacles and use gravity-fed racks. So here, instead of reaching it flat, now you've turned it sideways so that it's easier to reach the whole piece that you're trying to get instead of bending down and reaching far in front of you. Hand-intensive work, repetitive motions, gripping, pinching, bent wrists. So here's an example of repetitive work. There I am working with a bunch of my supervisors looking on. Range work to avoid unnecessary motions. Let power tools and machinery do the work. Spread repetitive work out during the day. Take stretch pauses. Rotate tasks with co-workers. Change hands or motions frequently. So here, use power tools instead of using a little wrench. Use a power tool, which would be quicker. Also, the pinching and gripping of how you hold it. Look at the one. If you can hold it firmly, you can hold about 10 pounds. But if you don't have a good grasp on it, you can only hold 2 pounds. That's going to cause a lot of soft tissue pressure and eventually more damage. So here you got gripping, doing cake work. An example, all right here, just holding it, and eventually your hand pressure can't hold it. Your grip strength decreases when you bend your wrist, when you pick up slippery items, when you wear poorly fitting gloves, and when you have cold hands. Reduce grip with the whole hand, not just fingertip. Pick up smaller loads. Use carts or trucks. Keep tools in good working order. Use lighter tools. Use 2 hands and keep your wrist straight. Pick up objects from the bottom using the whole hand. Attach handles and build up handles on small tools to reduce your grip. Use clamps to hold on to. Place items on cart. Put tool down when not actually using it. So here's an example of where you have on the left where I'm using my whole body to try to get these lug nuts off, and on the right where I kind of use some little wisdom and I used a machine to do it for me. Same thing on the left. I'm using all my force on the side, but it would be easier if I do it coming down from the top. Okay, you got here, you have short little snips and long snips. Change pinching to gripping. Same thing with the bending of your wrist to having a straight wrist. Again, reorient the object. So wide work down when you can work straight and you won't be bending your wrist. Your wrist goes up when you have gripping or pinching or bent wrist. There's typing. When you reduce injuries on typing, use micros for common functions. Spread keyboard work out throughout the day. Take pause stretches and improve your posture. Move around as much as possible. Vibration. Again, you got some vibration. Different type of equipment. Moderate vibration, high vibration. Use low vibration tools if possible. Maintain your tools. Gloves. Keep your hands warm. Repeated impacts. So when you're using the heel of your palm, right? A youngin', that's not too bad, but after a while you do that, that starts causing wear on your soft tissue and on the joints of your hand. Same thing with using your knee, right? If you know anybody that's a carpet layer, when they're young, boy, and these carpet layers, they do great work, but they go through and they kick the carpet with their knee. But when you get older, you see these same carpet layers, most of them can barely walk. They have bad knee problems. So what do you want to do? You want to use a little mallet, a rubber mallet, or use this little tool that they show, stretching a carpet stretcher, which will take total pain off your knees. So what are some symptoms of WMSD? Pain, discomfort, pain, numbness, tingling, burning, swelling, change in color, tightness, or loss of flexibility. I got all those now. I mean, from old age, that's what you get. So here's some things you want to remember. Ergonomics can help you on your job. WMSDs can happen in jobs with risk factors. Risk factors can be reduced when you prevent these hazards. Reporting symptoms early is important because you can identify things that you can do differently, and you can help your company put ergonomic changes into place. And look at that. We finished this in 19 minutes, less than 20. Alright, so that was chapter 8.